Director of Social Services. Tracy, welcome. Stand up, let everybody know who you are. I'm sure they'll be getting to know you as time goes on. Our first order of business is citizens' time, and our first speaker is Ms. Vanessa Baumgartner. Baumgartner?
Yes, sir. I hate to keep coming back over here, but if I may approach you, this is a copy of the vehicle trailer license of West County, Virginia.
Okay.
I've been told by everybody you can get this information on the website. This is the information we would like to see on the website. The actual draft that entails all the important information, and it's not there. I'm not the only one that's tried to get this information off the website. If it would be me, I'd say yeah, but there's other people in the community that's trying to get this type of information off the website, and you cannot. The only place you can get it, the actual copy that y'all get, that y'all gonna vote on, is either come to this building and request a copy or go to the library and get it. You can see what you're getting ready to vote on, but as far as all the important information in it, you cannot. In other words, I cannot sit at my house, pull this up. Can I bring it to you and let you see if this is what you're getting ready to vote on in August?
Sure, you can bring it up. Jen, Mr. Dalton, can y'all answer this? Are we putting this out in the...
Once the public hearing is advertised to the paper, it's added to our website.
Okay.
Since we haven't advertised for this, that's why.
That is not on the website, trust me. Y'all got...
Did you hear what you just said?
Yes, sir, I know, but did you hear what I just said? It's not on there.
That's right, she said it hasn't been put on there yet. She just said that. Because we haven't advertised a public hearing for this yet.
So, that information does not get put on there unless somebody comes over here and demands it be put on.
No, ma'am. It doesn't get put on there until we decide to have a public hearing.
Okay. Y'all decided to have a public hearing on the property maintenance order. It was not put on there until the very last minute to where a person can pull it up and look at it. And working people cannot wait to the very last minute to look at something and decide whether they want to come over here and address the board. The minute that y'all put it on the agenda, we would like to see it too, so we can make our decision and contact our supervisor one way or the other, or show up to speak. That's all we're asking. I mean, you know, don't wait the day before and throw it up on the computer and expect people to be able to get a babysitter or get off from work, because you have to give a notice to get off from work to come to me. You just can't go and say, hey, I need off today, and show up if you want to speak on something that y'all getting ready to vote on.
Okay, I think you made your point.
Okay, now, is that the actual copy that y'all going to get ready to vote on August the 14th?
Looks like a draft of it, yes, ma'am?
A draft.
It's not advertised on the internet, because we haven't set a public hearing.
Yeah, but is that...
I'm not going to tell you this is the actual copy. The one is, when we advertise a public hearing, that will be the one, okay? I don't know how else to tell you. When we advertise a public hearing, it will be on the internet.
And the public hearing is advertised for how long?
2 weeks prior.
2 weeks.
So
7 days prior, so
it will be-
it's in the paper will be 28.
The
So you're telling me you put a copy of...
2 weeks ahead of time.
In the paper of that?
Not in the paper, on the website.
On the website.
That's what you were asking.
Okay, we'll be back. That's all I'm saying, because property maintenance order was not there 2 weeks ahead of time. Thank y'all.
Okay. Ms. Myers?
Yes, good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. How are
I'm
you?
sure that you all saw the newspaper on Saturday that we've again lost jobs here in Wood County. So that makes.
No, I didn't see it. Can I have it?
Yes, definitely.
I got it down on the weekend.
Right here. And that's, they don't know how long or if they'll be called back at all. So, with that and with Ms. Barker's revelation at the last board meeting about the brouhaha with the assessments, and there seems to be a point that there will be, or you are anticipating a shortfall in incoming revenues. I'm assuming that. So, here we go again. Can we afford to do the Speedwell water spur between layoffs and between shortfalls in revenue? It just wouldn't seem prudent at this time to continue with that, and I'm hoping you're all thinking about it. And actually, at this time, I would like to know, or I'd like to poll you and see if there was a vote today, how would you vote on pursuing?
Ma'am, I'm not gonna allow you to poll this board, okay?
All right. So, we're hoping that you will think about it, again, the Speedwell water spur, for the fiscal health of the county, and finally by abiding by the wishes of the local taxpayers. So that was one issue. The other issue, of course, is the E911 business with the last electricity outage and, let's call it natural disaster. Having the cooling centers and so on closed on the 4th of July was certainly unfortunate. And I was wondering how you were going to address that in the future. If there's a holiday, you're going to shut down E911 and it's not going to help the public, which it's set up to help. I'm hoping that you really look into that because it's really kind of unfortunate to have that happen. Also, in the paper this past week, there's a legal notice ad from the Wood County Public Schools that they're having a surplus sale of articles, tables, chairs, and miscellaneous. And then underneath that, there's a request for proposals for the E911 office that they need office chairs and tables. And it just seems that there should be, or I'm hoping there could be, some interaction between county agencies to save the taxpayers some money. Are you aware? Maybe you could pass this along to them and they could, one hand could wash the other and save us a few bucks. No,
Okay.
you can have it, but here's that also. We really need to be fiscally responsible at this point in time because the economy is gloom and doom and it is not going to get better in the foreseeable future. Thank you.
Mr. Beth Krieger? Good morning, Beth.
Here, I guess, really, I remember that notice on my grant's house on the Lane Foundation. I think there may be some misconceptions of why Ms. Coleman wasn't, like, the writer of this year, and I have it ready, I just didn't know if you, I was informed yesterday that it didn't pass the finance.
We have 6 applications. Finance commission recommend 3 of those.
So there's no reason for me to present, that's.
You can present, if you'd like to present.
Because, the only thing is I can't, as far as the rescue squad and fire rescue, we can't just send a grant into the foundation. They have to make that request, go to the supervisors and that kind of thing. So, I want to make sure everybody was aware of what we're asking for before, maybe get one like, look, I don't think what we passed along the first time was completely, complete, so they didn't have all the actual numbers from retreat lead mines when I passed that on to Mr. Dalton.
Okay.
Beth, and that's the reason that we didn't recommend it, because it showed one agency and not all the other agencies being funded.
Well, and
We just didn't feel that that's proper. You showed on the spreadsheet, lead mines, Brewer Tree, Wood County. Wood County, the only money requested was money Wood County, Parent Springs, or spread.
well, the only reason it showed that is because I hadn't got retreat lead mines problems yet.
But that's all we had.
Well, I think there was a misconception here because we weren't notified until the last week of June that this was supposed to be presented to the finance committee first week of July. Nobody notified the Fire and Rescue Association that this was going to be, we've operated, and I understand Ms. Coleman is going to do this, and this is great. completely support that. So, you know, as far as an individual won't have to be working on that, you know, trying to do their stuff. But we weren't really given ample time to collect our information, to pass it to her, give her an opportunity to write the grant. So we actually discussed, her and I discussed this, you know, kind of back and forth the last week of June, first week of July, you know, and that's why I just gave her a quick summary of it, because she's like, you know, well, you know, because Roy Tree was unable to get their, you know, uninsured numbers instead of lead line until like, you know, last week from the billing company. So, yeah, it was incomplete. But we always presented at the last board meeting prior to August 1st, you know, and I guess really, as far as the association, we weren't informed, you know, and give ample time to give her that information for her to write it and present it to the channel.
Let me ask you a couple of questions. Are we limited to the number of people that we can recommend?
We have, the way it is currently, Jenna, I understand that we now have to rank those applications from one, whatever, in priority order. And when we got those budget hearing last Thursday, but you emailed that to me the day before, I believe, and I said, I changed the agenda and added that to it. But then, as we went through that, since we only had that agency, and we didn't have anything
Right.
blank on the other side. The priority then was the other applications because they were complete, and we had 5 requests.
And you rank them 1 through 5?
We went from 1 through 3 because we didn't have the information.
In the last conversation I had with the foundation, they were very concerned about the amount of grants that Wood County was putting in for this cycle. And they thought we had way too many, and that was 5 or 6 that we had talked about.
And so now, because of this, they can't be considered?
I think keep people forward, but I think Ms. Greer liked it, presented. I think if we had more information, then the budget committee would be.
Well, and really, when I sent the information to Mr. Dalton, I was sending it, I'm sending it for this meeting this morning, and I didn't realize that it was going to be, you know, like I said, we weren't informed of that, or I would have had it done, you know, I was still working, I even met with him yesterday to get it finalized. So, yeah, we would have, you know, I would have sent a more accurate data, like I had this morning, if I had known that it was going to go in front of the budget committee instead of just presenting it this morning.
Artie's not here.
I'm the chairman of the budget committee, and what we received were three grants that had, you know, the figures and the explanations and which category under the foundation's, protocol they fit in, and we had 2 requests that had really no documentation or anything that just came to us, that day. One was a handwritten request that just basically said, from one group that said what they would like in the dollar figure. So there was no explanation. There was nothing that went along with apparently how the foundation expects grants to be written. And I think that we had set up, was there not an earlier deadline set?
From the fire and rescue meetings, the minutes, the information said we wanted everything, even that meeting, the minutes said July 2nd was the last thing we submitted.
That was my deadline. That wasn't the count, really, we feel at that point, we were operating fire and rescue, that we didn't know that the county had come up with the other deadline, so the deadline that was on those minutes is what I set for myself, so it would give me time to write the grant, complete it with the information, and have it here this morning. So we never truly got anything from the county about a deadline.
Just a minute ago, you said you had, when you submitted it last week, you didn't have all that
I
information.
did, I did not.
Nobody complied except yourself. Barron Springs submitted.
Well, but they were informed of it. They knew that it was coming, and I was working with the billing companies, and like I said, it wasn't the rescue squad's fault when the billing companies had issues.
Tim,
What I'd like to do is we have two members of the budget committee that are absent right now, is to work out some opportunity for you to present this maybe later. Well, Kim will not be here, but Artie's coming in. When we have a meeting of the budget, on Tuesday, you can. Do what?
You're the alternate for anybody that's missing.
Okay, I'll sit in, we'll work it out. Artie comes, we'll work out a time for you today.
I mean, because, and like I said, I'm not trying to be difficult, I just. it's
I can
either
understand
form-
how that communication got, actually, you got yours in, the rest of them didn't, but you set a deadline for yourself.
Right.
Yeah,
Because, it's really not personal, because like I said, I knew what I had to do to get this completed prior to today. So that's what I had informed through email to the other agencies, because they were already on board. They knew that they wanted to go into the uninsured and underinsured patients that we served and are serving. So just getting the numbers was all that was left. So, I mean, that was,
We'll work something out here for you, okay?
okay, thank you.
That closes citizens' time, and we will move to the minutes of the previous meeting of July 10th, 2012. Do I hear a motion? Second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any additions or deletions or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Gene? Aye. And aye. 5 and 2 absent. Moving to payment of the invoices.
Chairman, got a name, this is public hearing.
Well, by golly, I did. And it is 5 minutes after 9 or later. The Witt County Board of Supervisors will conduct a public hearing pursuant to the Code of Virginia and amendments thereto to consider repealing of ordinance 1997-3 entitled Concealed Weapon Permit Fingerprint Ordinance of Witt County, Virginia. The public hearing will be held at 9:05 a.m. Tuesday, July the 24th in the board's room of the County Administration Building at 360 South 6th Street, Witteville, Virginia. The Board of Supervisors shall hear public comment regarding the rescinding of this ordinance at this time. A copy of this ordinance proposed for the repeal is on file at the County Administrator's Office at 340 South 6th Street, Witteville, Virginia. At this time, we'll now open the public hearing. Does anyone want to speak to the public hearing? Yes, sir.
I haven't had a chance to read this ordinance that you're talking about.
Sir, I'd like you to first give your name and address.
Roger Hall. I'm not sure what you're trying to rescind here on the ordinance because I was out of town, didn't get a chance to get a copy of it. Are you trying to repeal just the handgun ordinance period?
No, what the ordinance reveals is the Commonwealth of Virginia does not require fingerprinting anymore.
Right, oh, they don't, okay.
So we're not going to require fingerprinting, and if you come in for and apply for a concealed weapon, you will not have to be fingerprinted.
Okay.
This ordinance just puts us in compliance with the state of Virginia.
Commonwealth of Virginia.
Well, that's fine, I understand that. I think you ought to be fingerprinted, so.
I personally do too.
I do too.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna get a gun, you need to be fingerprinted personally, but I didn't know if you were trying to repeal the carry law or
No,
not.
what we're trying to do is just get lined up with the Commonwealth.
And one thing we did, we talked to the sheriff at the last meeting, and I kind of asked the same question. And the sheriff, relayed that what they're finding is that they were finding no new information with fingerprints. That by doing the background check, if there's something there, they'll find it. They have not, been able to discover any new information by using fingerprints. So I don't say it's a exercise in futility, but there's no reason to go to that expense and problem. So the background checks still stay in place, but the fingerprinting is just gone away.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anyone else would like to speak to the public hearing? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Members of the board?
Mr. Chairman, since this puts us in compliance with the Commonwealth of Virginia, I would recommend that we accept the repeal of ordinance 1997-3.
A motion is there a second? A second. Moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Hale?
Yes.
Aye. 5-0, 2 absent. Motion passes. Now we'll move to payment of the invoices.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we pay the invoices.
The motion is there a second? Paying the invoices. Second. Anyone have any particular invoice they'd like to talk about? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Horning? Aye. And aye, 5-0, 2 absent. We'll move to unfinished business. Mr. Dalton, I noticed this public notice that was put out. Is that the copy of the one we last put out concerning that?
That is a copy of last advertisement. Mr. Davis was here last week, requesting that you consider extending his lease. Our comment was if we could, according to the previous procurement. What Mr. Davis called, talked to me yesterday afternoon, he would like to resist what he has. Industrial Development Committee meeting. That he didn't think it all prepared. So he's not here today. He asked if we consider referring this matter to committee for his presentation.
Well, I think we can do that. Any other business or unfinished business? Seeing none, we'll move to reports. First is Treasurer Crawford. Sam?
Good morning, Bill.
Good morning. How are you today?
All right. Got a couple of handouts for you that, first one is the delinquent tax report required to pass out. I'll give you all the end of each year, and then an updated revenue statement. And not much on it yet, so we haven't started taxes yet, but still it's got a couple of items on it.
Say it.
On our consolidated account report, got a total of $53,020,000 on the consolidated accounts. And on our general fund balance, we got $31,693,000 of moving money out of school salary payables up to general fund balance. But we'll back it up, and we have taken that other $6 million out, we put it for capital. What was that?
Budget.
Budget. Probably $6 million out there.
Yes, capital.
We've taken that out. So, that's, general fund balance is. On the revenue statement I sent out, it's, we're taking in like $45,000 worth of delinquent real estate tax this month, $12,000 personal property. We're doing a lot of warrant debts, and things like that this year. We started doing a bunch of, distress seizures. We've got 12 working right now, and I got about 10 or 15 more we want to do with the sheriff's department. And yesterday, this is what we ended up stressing. Then one of the deputies up in the mountains looking for a car, and he found a bunch of marijuana claims. So he put my distress seizure on the back of it, and I already in front of him took a picture, so I'm gonna send around the treasurers and tell them that's what we're desperate with county, that's what we're gonna make sure. But I thought it was.
Can you put a value on that, Sheriff? That we can.
Put a value on that.
$1,500 per plant.
Do what?
$1,500 per plant.
$1,500 a plant,
That
okay?
would about pay that guy's taxes, and I thought to collect from somebody. But I thought it was key what Mike Edmonds did, give him, the sheriff's department, credit for working with me so good on tracking these people down and And we've had several of them come in and sign contracts, and really the biggest was we started to stop worker with them. I thought it was kind of cute what Mike did there. But, Brett, and the other thing, starting July the 1st, all of our court fines and forfeitures now all go directly to Richmond. And we finally got something from the comptroller's office on the 19th of July, actually much delay and stuff, explaining that it all goes to Richmond and they're going to send it back to us, and sheriffs would make less than 50% of their total collections are from fines, which, what is it, 4 sheriffs in the state?
4 localities.
4 localities, but it is not going to be longer keeping all the money. I mean, that's just what the state works, it's just plain and simple. But we finally got some information on it, but we are sending all our court fines now. The ladies are sending it all to Richmond. It's supposed to come back through the Ready Virginia program.
But they are keeping a percentage of the process.
Oh, I'm sure they are. They do it for everything else. 4% is what they do on everything else. So they will keep part of it. I mean, we're trying to keep track of it down there as to how much we send and what we get back. So we'll see what happens.
I bet you don't get that as much as you send.
Yeah, right. And the other thing is on the delinquent tax report for the end of the year, shows what our delinquent taxes for 2011 were for real estate and personal property. And then it shows on the right-hand column, 2009 and 10, what we've collected this year on those 2 years of taxes. And we're required to turn that in each year for, to the board of supervisors. And, that's all I got on that. Has anybody got any questions?
I'll see you, Sam, before you take off, the advertisement for delinquent real estate.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
What's next? Another board package.
Yeah, I turned that in last week or sometime. I've got it.
The board needs to authorize that for advertisement in the paper.
It's a delinquent tax list we do each year. I know it's expensive. I don't know if we could advertise it on the web page. I know we could do it to save money, but I don't know whether you get the same effect as you get out of that, putting it in the paper. I mean, I probably get more customers over that than anything. People come and don't ask when the tax is due, they come and ask what they will put in the paper. I mean, that's, so we.
Do we notify them that it will be in the paper if they don't buy, say, the next time?
It's on the bottom of the delinquent notices.
Okay.
Anything we do, we have to advertise it, like when we do warrant death, it's on the bottom of the personal property notices. And, in the real estate, it will be published in the local paper on after June 30th. That's, yeah, they are notified.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. Mr. Crockett, it looks like I went through that list that was on the website. It looks like there's a pattern that gets into some real money there of outstanding taxes.
There is. We need to have another judicial sale. We need to start doing another one of those. Whenever y'all want to do it.
I'm opposed to changing any millage until we collect all the taxes that are there now. And that includes food tax and transient tax. Real estate is bearing the load and always has and always will, but it doesn't mean that it has to be that way. It's just a convenient way to collect taxes, in my opinion. But how do we track the food tax and how do we track the transient tax?
Transient lodging tax.
Yeah.
The Commissioner of Revenue's office collects the meal tax and brings it over to us, and then the lodging tax is paid directly to the Treasurer's office by the 20th of each month. Same for the meals tax. By the 20th of the following month, it's required to be in. And if it's not, if like the pay hasn't doesn't pay, then we send them a letter or take them to court or whatever we need to do to try to collect the meals tax. Meals tax normally is not a big problem, and we did have one restaurant that was a problem, and Big Bird went down there twice and did 2 till tap sorts, and that sort of cleared him up. But he stood there with a money bag at lunchtime, taking money out of the register. I mean, and that, they got to admit the idea. The sheriff's deputy really did that. But meals tax and lodging tax usually we don't have any problem with that. Real estate versus property, you know, we have a problem.
But, I mean, how do you track those two taxes? Are they voluntary taxes? There's no way to audit whether they're paying what they're supposed to, is
They, I guess you could go back and do their income tax and audit it that way, yeah. But it's a trust tax, that's exactly right. Meals tax and other trust tax.
Thank you.
Let me ask you a question. This property right in the middle of Avenue, you probably know what I'm talking about, we sold it 2 years ago. For some unknown reason, we didn't get it sold, let's see it's back on that list.
Yeah, there, it was a question of, it was mapped, the mapping was off on it, and I think we probably got some of that squared away, but it was, and that's one reason we have our sales, is to find out your errors. We sold one piece of property that was technically on the south side of Route 11, but it was mapped on the north side of Route 11, and the guy bought it, and it turned out, when he found out where it was, he didn't want it, it turned out like it. But there, you know, there's errors in mapping, and there's a lot of problems over in the island with the mapping. That piece of property was not where it was advertised to be, so we had to cancel that sale. In fact, it was in somebody else's front yard, where that caused quite a stir with the person that owned that other piece of property. I said, yeah, I called him grief on that one, but it's, you know, it's just the way it turned out. You know, if you have something like that, it doesn't show up for it. And it does rear its head eventually. And one other thing I'd like to ask y'all about, you know, I had two of my girls took that early retirement, and I'm getting ready to do some hiring. I've had about 50 applications for jobs. And it's the starting salary that we're talking about, the 19.8 salary range. It's been like that with the comp board, I know for 6-7 years, because Pam, that's what Pam started at, she's been with me over 6 years. I'd like for y'all in the budget committee to consider taking a look at that to see if we can raise that starting salary up some. I mean, when people on your applications, either they've made $24,000 to $25,000 or more, you know, and then you try to hire them for $19,000, it's just not going to work with, you know. I think it's a responsible job handling the county's money. It takes a responsible person to do that. And I don't think you can pay them just a little above minimum wage to get a good responsible person to do it. And I think that it's been that way for years and years. I think it's time that we can possibly take a look at, see if we can increase that starting salary up to maybe get a better quality of person, you know, so we don't have problems.
Sam, I'll refer that to the budget committee, and then I would also ask the budget committee to invite you to come and maybe
Make a recommendation.
make a recommendation based on what you
That's
see.
time to do it. But I'm,
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Bowman.
Ms. Parker has the same problem.
right.
If we're gonna address Sam's problem, we need to address it.
Yeah, Peggy and I talked about it.
Ms. Parker's
We need to-
problem. If we may, Sam, we need a written, something or a projection of what you propose.
All right.
So that we don't arbitrarily just start making up numbers. If
Well-
you and Faye can work out something, because I will say that we don't wanna get the two entry levels, the two opposite out of kilter.
Well, that's true. Peggy and I talked about it, and it was, I was bringing it up, and it obviously doesn't affect her office, so I know she's had to hire a couple of people. But people on these applications I'm getting are saying, you know, this should be a $24,000 to $28,000 a year job, and they're probably correct. You know, and I'm still working with the comp board. One of the people that's leaving was comp board salary, and I'm trying to give the other two people pay increases out of that money, and still have some money left over to hire a person. But like Swell said, the comp board, notoriously here lately, has been taking that money back to the general fund. And we're trying to do, and I'm not getting an answer from the comp board. I need to give them another call and to see, who'd you come I need to call to? The lady?
Robin.
To say that. So I'm not getting the answer out, I'm not getting the answers out of the Buffalo, the guy down there. But,
I'll forward you the email she sent me.
yeah, well, no, we're doing good. talk to her or not, you know, but anyway, I mean, it's a problem, we're trying to get some quality people, and we've had some good applications for people, you know, we've had about 50 applications.
Say, let me invite you to that, budget meeting also, you and Sam come together and.
Appreciate it.
I would like to, can I just say something?
Yes, ma'am.
With the $19,856, and now that they're having to pay the 5% VSR, it's putting them right at minimum wage or below.
Yeah, it's a problem. It's like $9.55 an hour, you know, that's almost minimum wage.
For free responsible jobs.
Yeah, yes, sir. We're taking care of the county's money. You know, it's there, it's a temptation. It's not fair. Thank y'all, appreciate it.
Sam, before you sit down, I believe we needed a motion considering this,
Newspaper ad.
newspaper ad, and I never did receive one, I don't believe, did we?
No.
Okay.
You need a motion?
Yes.
I'll make it a motion.
All right, is there a second?
Also,
I should move in second and then give them permission to go ahead and follow through with the newspaper ad. All right, all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, son, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, but I'm in direct line with Mr. Dalton. I can see him when he raises his hand.
Oh.
A bundle of questions.
I don't look over there as much. But that's why you do that. I need you to do that.
That's why I'm vice chair.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dahl.
Ms. Parker, last time, the Manasseh thing, I was looking at that, they were tax exempt anyway. That's a church, school.
But I thought they were taxed, I'll have to look at it
Look,
again.
if you would, please, look at that,
I
because
will.
I went back and looked at the list of tax exempt, so I don't believe that mistake affected.
It's gonna hurt us bad.
Great.
Just a question.
Pepsi is and
Right.
North Tennessee is, so.
I agree, I just looked at
Okay.
the tax exempt,
Okay.
which was $150 million.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. We'll move on to next person on reports, and I believe it's the board of supervisors. First, before we do that, though, let me ask the sheriff or commissioner if they have anything they'd like to report to us today. Not on the agenda, but they're always welcome.
For once, Mr. Chairman, I don't have anything. However, I'm willing to come forward and answer any questions or issues if there are any.
Okay. Madam Commissioner?
I don't have anything.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll go to supervisors, and I'll take these in order. Black Electric?
Well, the only thing that I really have to report is, Mr. Chairman, you had assigned Mr. Hill, Mr. Grant, and myself to a task force to interview fire departments and rescue squads, and we've been doing that, and we finished that up the other day, and I think that we've had some productive meetings. It was much easier meeting with individual groups than it was, all groups at one time. And so, Mr. Grant, Mr. Hill, and I will be meeting again to start putting all of our information together to make some recommendations to the board.
Okay, thank you. Wes Whitfield is not here, so we'll have the Fort Chisholm.
Had a few road complaints, but other than that, we asked for a letter to be written congratulating the people for the Pepper's Ferry Bridge job and a citation. I haven't seen a copy of that letter yet. Did it get out?
I wrote the letter.
Okay. That's a great improvement there, and that, now the Beaver Branch job and the Pepper's Ferry job are done. We also asked for a letter to VDOT. Mr. Dalton, you heard anything about striping Pepper's Ferry Road from the railroad bridge to the county line?
No, I have not heard.
Fowler said that with our letter asking for that, he thought it could get done. Other than that, the dust complaints, that's,
We'll move to the lead mines district.
The only thing I have is, I had a complaint on Paynestown Road and the dust, and I turned it over to Mrs. Bear, and I don't think he could get in touch with Mr. Spencer down there, but he was trying to. I attended school board meeting. That's all I have.
On the dust, DDOT is handling those on a case by case. You've got to call that, or they've got to call that number, complain about dust, and then they'll come out, put chloride there. They will not, do a blanket, my understanding now.
Well, he talked like they wanted to try to get in under that for the state pays half.
Oh, state revenue share.
That it, Corey? Steve?
Few road problems, but everybody's got that. The only other thing that I've got is Linda Myers has started us the farmer's market again at 6 on Wednesdays. So if you need some produce, we've got a little bit over it that's coming in, so come on over.
All right. At large is absent, and I don't have anything to report.
Yeah, 6 to 7:30, everybody.
And we'll now go to building and grounds.
So vegetables, fruit, bacon.
we met this month, 2 items. One, rehearing the request for, social service file cabinets. And, we're gonna set up an office with the director's, agreement that we'll set up an office and then revisit the thing after we see how the bidding happens and whether they really need those additional file cabinets or not. And we also had to, deal with, debit change order on finishing the building, covered several items, and, paperwork was all in order from the A&E firm, and we discussed those, approved the change order.
So I assume we need to have, coming from the committee, to accept change order number 10.
Yes.
Okay. Does not require a second. Is there any discussion concerning change order 10, other than like Mr. Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Gene? Aye. And aye. Thank you. Next, we have the water committee.
When do you want to do it, since I was chasing cattle? I missed that meeting.
We had a few things on the water committee. The first one was to amend and appropriate $15,000 for the Jackson Elementary School Water Extension Program, and that comes as a grant through was it SERCAP? As a grant through SERCAP. So we recommend that we amend and appropriate that $15,000 for Jackson Elementary School Water Extension Program.
Committee needs no second. Any other discussion concerning this? These are grant funds included, right? All right, I'll call for the vote. Joe? And aye. Thank you. 5-0.
Okay, the second one is basically just like it. It's to amend and appropriate $7,500 for the Poplar Tank to Barron Springs Water Project. Again, a grant through SERCAP.
Second. Any discussion concerning this? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Gene? And aye, 5-0, 2 absent.
And also, again, to amend and appropriate $10,000 for the Ricky Road Extension Project. Again, through SERCAP, so it's all grants.
Any second, any discussion? Seeing none, Joe? And aye, 5-0.
And the last one is the community How's the word, I was looking for the community waterworks fees, is that right? Okay. Apparently, we pay, to the Commonwealth of Virginia, a fee for each water hookup that we have, and they are increasing that amount, cannot exceed $3 per connection, and they have gone up to $2.95. So they have increased that fee, and so we will need to approve that.
All right. No seconds or any discussion concerning that?
Is that a one-time or a monthly fee?
That's an annual fee.
Annual fee.
What they've done is reduce the Virginia Department of Health budget to the general fund and charge you a fee
To pay for the
with a buck to $2.95.
Okay.
Any more discussion? James?
Aye.
And aye. Thank you. Budget committee?
Oh, budget committee, okay, let me get this. The budget committee, we had several things on the agenda. The first one is to accept the victim witness grant for $45,066 and to amend and appropriate the same. So again, that's a grant.
No second? Any questions concerning that? Sheriff, everything's okay there with you?
Yes, sir, that's a continuation grant
Right.
we've had for years. It's primarily supported by the state.
Yeah. And aye. 5-0, 2 absent.
The next one.
Skip over number 2. You think that's the best thing to do, or?
Well, I think that we can, this one doesn't really have anything to do with what we were talking about earlier. These are three separate grants that don't have anything to do with the one that Ms. Kruger was talking about.
Oh, okay. Apologize, Steve, and I thought.
Yeah, we have approved that we make application to the Whitlam Community Foundation for the following grants listed in priority. And I'm sorry I don't have these, I can go down and get the figures, but first thing is for fire and rescue training, is for books for Firefighter 1, so that we can get those books. The second one, and this is the order in which we ranked them. The second one is the Retreat Lake Playground update. Mr. Cody came in and spoke to us, and there is a need to improve or replace the playground equipment over at Retreat Lake, and there's a lot of people that come in and use that. So under the obesity and the health criteria, that would fit that the grant, and also to fund a pilot project with the elementary school recycling program, and this would be setting up a recycling program at each elementary school, where we would recycle all the plastic containers and paper and things like that. And Billy he's talked to West Pool, and he also is going to talk to the principals and that sort of thing. But there is some cost involved with that to get some containers, from our understanding, it really won't add any additional work on anybody. It's just that rather than throwing everything in the green box to be destroyed, then they'll put it into containers. And he's also worked out a deal with B&M to pick those recycled materials up. So we would make all that into one motion because we did have to rank them in order.
Okay. I have a question. Yes, sir.
This, number 1 and 4, number 1 and number 4 down here, is that together? Can we appropriate 1246?
You know, Mr. McRobert, let me go down to,
They're just called.
I misunderstood, you're not gonna see the text, but it's in there.
okay, I'm sorry. When I mentioned that fire rescue, I was mistaken. It's the applying for a grant that would include training for the following courses: firefighter 1, firefighter 2, EMT, CPR, EVOC. I apologize, you're talking right. So that was what the fire and rescue was, and it's asking for an amount of $25,000. The Rotary playground equipment, it is for $20,000, and I have lost the recycling program. I lost that on my computer. How much is that?
58.
How much?
58,000.
58,000. And so I apologize for getting that person wrong, Mr. McDermott, you're right.
That conclude?
Yes.
All right. Heard the motion does not require a second, that we make application to the West Plan Community Foundation for those grants. Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call the vote. Mr. Twenty? Aye.
Aye.
And aye. Thank you.
Third thing that we are authorizing the membership to the Southwest Virginia Cultural Heritage Foundation, with the membership being paid from the tourism budget. That fee is $10,000, and so we will leave that up to the tourism committee. We will authorize them to do that if they choose to do that.
So it'd be their final choice on this?
Well, we are authorizing them to do that, but they had asked that it come from the economic development budget. But since all tourism is actually economic development, there's really no way to say, well, this is economic development, but this is tourism. So, this goes directly to tourism, and that's the budget that we would recommend.
Alright, so the motion is to authorize the membership if it's paid through the tourism budget.
Yes.
With no second coming from committee. Anybody else have any questions?
No, I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Is this $10,000 going to Hartwood to get your name on the board out there?
It is going to the Cultural Heritage Foundation, Hartwood, Crooked Road, Round the Mountain. It puts everybody, in that, and that's why, Michelle, that's another reason that we left it up to tourism. Certainly, if that's the way that they think that this money is best spent, they'll have to make that decision. But again, we did not feel that it should come out of general funds or economic development.
Did tourism give us a budget that we approved? Did they have a budget that was approved? Was this in that, or is this an additional item?
This would be taken from.
So it wasn't in their original budget, it was.
See, and also, the tourism committee has asked to be allowed to to make some decisions and make recommendations. So this is one that they will have to consider is if they think that that money is, the best way to spend, that $10,000, and if they will get a return on it. Basically, we're authorizing them to do it if they think that that's the best thing to do.
Anybody else? Call for the vote. Terrell?
No.
Aye. And aye. Motion passes 4-1-2. 4 for it, 1 opposed, 2 absent.
And now, Commissioner Roberts, you're right, this is number 4, to amend and appropriate $1,246 to 3202-46012 for purchasing Firefighter 1 textbooks, because we're starting in Firefighter 1, of course, here in Wythe County.
Anyone have any more discussion concerning the motion from the budget committee? Seeing none, Mr. Horning? Aye. And aye. Thank you.
Item number 5, to amend and appropriate $2,669 to 3202-48-202 for repairs to an Ivanhoe Fire Department fire truck.
Any questions concerning that?
Is that the Pierce truck?
And that is your first response. Yeah, 250 replace transmission.
So they still got one out of service then?
We still have one out of service that the wiring, some things are burned off of it. It's at the Pierce. They're replacing those. And that would be paid for an insurance.
They hadn't got this truck back yesterday. I think if we turn the bill in, it should be finished.
Do what?
I said, if we turn the bill in for it, it should be finished.
Well, this just authorizes us to do, to spend the money.
Yeah, I looked at it, this is just an appropriation to be able to pay to, this is not the bill itself. Just looking through the list of all these bills we have to process.
Things are a little different for me, I send you a bill on the thing.
But we want to know how much the bill is before we tell you to do it.
It's another different, I know what I'm doing.
Any more questions? Ms. Taylor? Aye. And aye.
Item number 6, to amend and appropriate $1,172 to 3202-48-209 for the inspection and testing of the aerial apparatus and ground ladders. This is, apparently they have to be inspected, and if someone authorized to do it has to do it, and that's what they charge.
How often these inspections, annually?
Is this just the ground ladders that's on that truck, or is that all the ground ladders they got?
And aerial apparatus.
Second. Any discussion concerning that? Gene? Aye. And aye.
And the last one, to amend and appropriate $8,000 to 43043-48202 for the VDM grant. Again, that is a grant.
Anyone have any questions? Steve?
Aye.
Aye. And aye. Is that finish off the budget committee?
Yes, sir.
Calvin, you've been very busy.
Yes, sir.
County Administrator's Report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item is a letter for inland port that Department of Historic Resources we have submitted the site plan for prospective industry. they've approved that site plan that is consistent with the original development of that lot and protection of all the archaeological sites underneath that property.
Okay. That's just informational.
That is,
It's good.
It's good information, I understand that.
took 14 years or 15 years to get that approved. Next item is the, Mount Rogers Planning is hazard mitigation plan, FEMA, it's now been approved. We as a region went together, worked that through Mount Rogers. They were, as part of their ongoing work, they were administering that hazardous mitigation plan. There were 5 items that, approval that, they were told that they needed to work on. They were structure elevations, having to alert the public, social media, etc. Next item is the certificate of substantial completion for Whitfield Water Treatment Water Extension. Dated 2009, ordinance confirmed that certificate.
So we need a motion on this, that you can sign it, or I think,
I've signed it, just
confirm. Okay. Can I have a motion, folks?
Now, the motion needs to be what?
confirmation.
Confirmation.
Substantial.
Okay, then, it's been inspected, so I would make the motion that we accept this as confirmation of substantial completion.
Second.
Moved and second. Anybody have any questions concerning this? All right, again, I think we should do a roll call vote, Joe.
Yes.
Aye.
Aye. 5-0 absent.
Next item is a letter from AFP summarizing Friday, June 29th, and also the following Sunday, July 1st, storm damage and repairs, and the customers in these states were affected and their response. Note listed for information, talking points as we develop the next level of emergency response amend our plan.
I have a question. Yesterday on the news, I think so many counties were declared disaster areas by the governor. Were we one of those?
The state in general is declared disaster.
Okay.
Which includes the southwest.
So the 40 counties that were mentioned, we were included in that? Okay.
We had to prepare a extensive damage report, houses, roofs, debris removal, et cetera, expenses that we would normally not incur to submit that to the state. It's all part of their submission fee, which more than likely will be denied. And the last thing is a letter from the Board of Equalization telling a summary of their work, completed their work, and 145 people they interviewed, made 201 changes, 104 no changes, 305 total parcels. They worked 21 days between April 30th and June 22nd. And their most telling item is they've made an overwhelming recommendation unanimous that Blue Ridge appraisal be excluded from any future bid processes or risks.
That ought to be.
You need a motion on that one?
Well, I said, this is just informational.
It is, but that is the recommendation for consideration that will be passed on next Board of so that as we do our procurement, this is in consideration, more than likely, they will be And lastly, there was this little Marison item that she requested that we consider sending to the government. So President Obama's suspension of illegal aid.
Any motions? Seeing none, we'll move on. County attorney is not available. Is he coming in later, or do you know?
He is on vacation with his family.
Then we'll move to new business, and the first business there is the consent calendar.
I make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
For a second? It's been moved and second. Anyone have any questions concerning the consent calendar? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. Economic access road bids. I assume these are come off Trinkle Drive to the Lot 24 project.
They are. Recommendation is to accept the low bid, branch highways, with exclusion of Left Iron water main construction on the base bid. Currently, it's sent this concurrence, part of this money is Federal Highway Administration Fund. I would recommend that you accept the bid or contingent upon their concurrence.
And that's a bid of $1,680,160.
No, sir, it's a bid of $1,441,440 minus the last three items, $172,000 minus $9,900 minus $6,200.
Okay.
With the removal of those three bids.
Need a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Accept the branch highway bid of $1,441,440. Any discussion?
Yeah, what's the real number after you do those deductions?
1.3, a little less than 1.3. Our budget was $1,400,000. That's how much grant money we received from the project. So after we take those three deductions, it's within the budget, and we have enough money for any change orders.
Any other questions? Gene? Aye. And aye. Thank you. Progress Park site plan.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, we have a site plan, SBC gave rate that they would like to submit additional tankage at their facility to handle the pre-treatment facilities that are required from the county. They meet all the conditions of the covenants. I recommend that you accept the site plan as presented.
We have a recommendation from the county administrator to accept this. They are within the covenants of the park. So I guess we'll need a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second. Moved and second. Any discussion?
Now, this takes a lot of burden off our wastewater.
It does, it's a pre-treatment, they actually, where they've been paying surcharges, they can actually store excesses now in control that discharge out into the county system so they don't exceed any of their permit. About a $750 million investment.
Any other questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Okay, we have a letter from the Rural Retreat Fire Association.
Mr. Chairman, I make the motion that we waive all fees associated with the necessary building permits for the retreat with County Fair, which is going to be held August the 7th through August the 11th. I think that we do this on an annual basis, so I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Anybody have any discussion concerning the Fire Association Rural Retreats request? Seeing none, call for the vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All right. We'll move now to the Mount Rogers Community Service Board Annual Performance Contract. Don, do we need action in this, or?
We do, we need an annual approval and signature authorizes and performance evaluation.
And I think you've got a quite lengthy information, some of the things they've done, so. I have a motion that we accept the Mount Rogers Community Service Board service contract.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
I'll second it.
Moved and second. Any discussion?
And we normally pay on a quarterly basis.
Yeah. All right, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any information concerning the request from the citizens concerning a noise ordinance?
Well, actually, this is mine. Earlier, we had talked about exploring the possibility of a noise ordinance, and we found that the best situation was to use decibel meters, but they had to be approved by the Criminal Justice Department, and they had to be calibrated and that sort of thing. And so we were looking at getting some bids or some prices on that. And this, came from a citizen in the Black Lick district. But then I've also had some other phone calls regarding the noise ordinance with the racetrack at Rural Retreat. Not the noise as such, but the noise late in the night. I don't think that there's anybody in the retreat area that would complain about the noise up to a certain level, but gotten a call from citizens who were complaining because the race was going past 12 o'clock on Saturday night into Sunday morning. One time up to 12:30, one time almost to 1:30, and they just felt that was excessive. And so the reason that this is on here, I'd like for us to look at a noise ordinance to see if there is something that we feel like that we can do, and to look at using decibel meters rather than subjective. Using decibel meters certainly is an objective way to do it because it either meets the standard or it doesn't. I guess the reason I asked Mr. Dalton to put this back on here is because it's sort of gotten lost in the shuffle, and I'd like for us to kind of put it back into active consideration.
I believe our county attorney was supposed to have been working on something.
He is.
Well, and the other thing, I think that we had talked about, I think Mr. Frothingham had looked at Virginia Beach, and was looking at maybe using that as a model. I'm not sure that I haven't looked that carefully at the Virginia Beach one, but I'm not sure that it had, any timelines in there, that after, that noise at a certain level was okay up to, a certain time. And again, as far as the racetrack, nobody wants to do away, with the racetrack, nobody's complaining about the racetrack, other than if it goes, to 12:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30 on Sunday morning, and, early when people are trying to, sleep, that is a little bit excessive.
And I've had some concerns from some citizens on Peppersbury Road who, so, obviously are trying to just have a squabble among neighbors that use noise as one of the reasons why you should do that. So.
And that's why if we do look at anything, I would certainly recommend the decibel meter, because with the decibel meter, it's either there or it's not. Nobody has to make a decision on, well, this is, unusually high noise. If you can, hold that thing and the needle points to a certain, certain decibel, then it is. And if it's sustained for X number of minutes, I mean, so I just request that we put this back in active consideration.
Okay. I just will order that. I think he's been working on something, but we'll put it back in active. Our priority.
Well, a little bit, because it's been, several months.
Mr. Dahl, you, Chris. All right, thank you. Next, we have, some information concerning Little Creek Heritage Days. I believe that you found something in your mailboxes today on the advertisement about the, Little Creek Heritage Day. I believe we got that. Is there any other information we need to know about that?
I know, typically, parade, which I think you have the agenda now.
There wasn't anything in the packet, just the information we provided. I just know what was provided was what was given to us in our mailboxes.
It's just a flyer.
Just a flyer. Next on the agenda is a closed meeting concerning personnel.
One last time, if I may, Mr.
Sure.
The sheriff has a nationally known speaker that's going to be here. I don't think we meet again before that date. I've signed you all up for Thursday to come to that meeting. The meeting's soon. The sheriff may want to say a few more words about it.
Just to give y'all some explanation of it, this informational meeting on Thursday will be for the school board, school members, and board members and so forth. There will also be a second one on Friday, which is for police officers. Lieutenant Colonel Dave Grossman is a world-renowned expert on violence, most especially school violence and mass murders.
The appropriate timing in it.
Excellent time. Excellent time. And I have attended his seminars before. They're fast moving, give you a lot of information. It will actually change the way you think about these things. And one of our purposes for that was to have the schools reconsider certain procedures that they take. But it explains the psychology and methodology of mass murder. I'll find this thing in Aurora, Colorado would fit right into that niche of what he's going to be talking about. He also talks about the root causes of these types of events. And basically, it's our society as a whole right now. But he is quite renowned in the field. He's written a great variety of books on security matters. And once again, he concentrates on police on one side and on the schools and public safety on the other. So, by all means, if you want to hear a really dynamic speaker that will open your eyes as to what's out there, what the causes of it are, and most especially what we can do about it to lessen the chances of it occurring, I highly recommend that y'all attend.
Do our best. And we got a letter, by the way, also.
And that Thursday is the 9th?
It is.
Okay.
There will be several
Lunch
hundred
is
people.
provided also, by the way.
Several hundred people there that day. I was talking to Dr. Brandon yesterday, I think most of the teachers and staff are going to be there on the night.
He has studied so many of these things that have occurred, and once again, he will have a recommendation for what you're doing right, and again, he'll show you, speak out on his studies, because that's his specialty, and what not to do, which is more important. He is, you may have heard the term before, floating around about sheepdogs and wolves. That is the person that coined that phrase to begin with. We're sheepdogs and wolves. But by all means, like I said, lunch is provided. It's, I won't say entertaining, but it is engrossing. And it's a wonderful opportunity for y'all to hear this gentleman speak.
Now, the wonderful police officers on here, I assume the town of Whitfield's been invited to.
Oh, yes.
Any other
Entire
surrounding
region.
counties? Oh, they're going to be.
We've had inquiries as far away as Newport News.
Great.
So,
Yes, the sheriff, I'm surprised.
Yes, everybody in the state has been advised of this by the Fusion Center, which is the Virginia State Police Intelligence Sharing Network. Everybody in the state has been advised of this training, advised that it's free, and given the hours of school. So we've had numerous inquiries from a great distance from Wood County.
Appreciate you and your staff putting this together.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be there to authorize education credit for any EMS providers that do attend through the state.
Mr. Dalton, do you have anything else now?
No, sir.
I need a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel issues.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion. I move that the Wood County Board of Supervisors convene in closed meeting to discuss personnel matters as permitted by Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711, A1.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.